Guys, welcome back to another Axe 72 video, and in today's video I'm back with an interview, a little bit different, here with Karim today. Aki, how are we doing, man?
I'm good, mate. Good. Nice to see you. How's things?
Well, things are great, man. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel, and I'm looking forward to having a good chat here today.
Well, you know what? It's weird being on the other side where people are asking me
Yeah.
questions. And well, look, like I said to you before, I doubt anyone wants to hear what I've got to say. But if they do, go and see it on Axel 72 anyway.
Legend, man. No, you're the boxing royalty, mate, at this point.
That's nice of you to say. That's very nice of you to say.
Lovely stuff. Okay, we'll get straight into it with kind of a question which you always like to start off with, and that is, why did you get into boxing, or what got you into boxing?
Honestly, I wasn't good to become a proper boxer myself, and so I thought, what's the best way to still connect with boxing, but be really involved deeply with boxing without, because I wasn't good enough, I wasn't tough enough to be a boxer. So this to me seemed like the best alternative, really. And that's how it started. Just started off doing like daft little videos and vlogs myself, and then it just sort of gained momentum. Gained momentum when I met a guy called Chris who ran a channel called BBTV, and then we became partners in BBTV, and that's it, really. That's the story in a nutshell.
Of course, man, and I mean, now you're doing more than just BBTV. Of course, you got your presenting and the hosting and everything else you do as well as the interviews. And so I suppose what kind of led to the fact of, I mean, you're doing ring announcements now, and what kind of led to that kind of where you are now, I suppose?
Honestly, Alex, what it is I love boxing. It's my passion in life, but it's quite hard to just say make a living off just YouTube, for example, or just one element of boxing, unless you're a massively huge channel like an IFL, for example. And I gave up a good job. I was a school teacher. I was a school teacher for 12 years, and I gave up a good job to press on with the boxing a bit more, but realised that you need to have have a bit more about you, really, when it comes to making a living off it, especially when having two young kids. So that's where the other elements come in, the MCing and the presenting and stuff. And I ended up doing the Commonwealth Games. I was a presenter at the Commonwealth Games, and then from that, because it's quite high profile, I got the call to do a few other bits and bobs, and that's where we are now, really. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, man. And I mean, what kind of advice would you give to somebody, maybe even just like me, that is just starting out doing interviews and stuff like that?
How long have you been doing it for now?
About a year now.
About a year. How are you finding it? Are you enjoying it? Have you just got a passion for boxing, or
Yeah.
why did you get into it?
It was kind of out the blue, to be honest. I was just messaging fighters. I've always enjoyed boxing a lot, and I just messaged a fighter one day. And I've had this channel for about 3-4 years now. But I was just doing like little random gaming videos and stuff like that when I was a kid. And now, I mean, I've tried to definitely move away from that now. And I just out of the blue message a fighter, and then they were like, yeah, and then kind of led from there.
Well, before I answer that question, who was your first interview ever?
Akib Fiaz.
Oh, lad, what a lad. I like Akib, yeah, he's a mate. Well, best bit of advice I could give you, really, or anyone doing this sort of thing, because a lot of people do message me and ask this sort of question, and the best thing I'd say is you've got to have persistence, because a lot of people want to take shortcuts in the industry. Really, you can't do that, because you have to build up. You have to kind of build up a level where fighters actually want you to interview them. Yeah. They like you, or they respect you, or build up your knowledge of the game, just be persistent, because like you're doing at the minute. You said you've had your channel going for ages, and sorry, this has just gone off there for a second. And you're starting out on this journey, so to speak. You keep going. Eventually, people know who you are. Oh, that's that kid, nice kid, him, and I respect him, and he knows his boxing, and eventually it just snowballs from there. But don't be deterred at first, because it's really hard, even getting interviews with people. Like, think about all the people you message and they don't see the message, or they don't get back to you. That still even happens to me. So, if you wanted to really make a go of it, be persistent, and also try and add a few little things in there, maybe as well, like maybe get into the presenting as well, or get into something else which can just, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what I'd say. But knowledge of the game really is a really important one, because fighters love to be interviewed by somebody who knows about them, done the research, who understands their career, understands the technical aspects of boxing. So that's important as well, I'd say. If that made any sense.
No, of course, no, that's great, man, and I really appreciate that advice, especially coming from somebody like you, and of course, that has kind of followed the path similar to what I was doing, and now you've got to where you are now, of course. And I mean, I suppose to link on to the fact of like people maybe trying to fast track, a lot of people maybe try get to these big events before they even do the smaller ones, and I know how important these smaller shows are. I've been to quite a few now myself, and you do a lot of work there. And how much do you kind of enjoy these smaller shows compared to some of the bigger shows?
I'll be honest, at the minute I'm preferring the smaller shows, if I'm being quite honest with you, because a lot of the TV shows, you look at the bill, you know exactly who's going to win. The odds are ridiculous. If you have an accumulator and you put 100 quid on, you're going to get 12 quid back because it's just a foregone conclusion. And that's what we're seeing a lot more now of the big TV shows, because there's budgets, and it's not always people do try and get the fights, but there's a lot of things involved: managers, teams, lawyers. So you go into a small hall show and you'll see a 50-50 English title fight, and you'll see like a 50-50 Central Area title fight, and you'll see like you might see a 5-0 kid against a journeyman who's had 9 wins, 15 losses, but there's still it's a test, and you got 50-50s going on, and you got a competitive fight. So I'll be honest, at the minute I'm enjoying the small halls more than the TV shows, if I'm being completely frank. Yeah.
No, that's completely fair, and I mean I've seen a couple, quite a few of your interviews to be fair, and the one which I always like, the kind of sit down you do with somebody we've had on the channel a couple of times, being Ricky Gorman, and just kind of what's your thoughts on the whole that whole family, I suppose.
Well, Ricky's become a friend actually through this, and we started off by going. I just had this idea in my head, and I said to Chris, "Why don't we go to this traveller site here and just do a little documentary about travellers, because we love that. We've got a lot of traveller friends and gypsy friends. We respect them. We get on well with them. So we went down there, did a thing called At Home with the Gormans, where we did a tour around the site, and people loved it. So we stayed with Ricky. He's so charismatic. Yeah. He's a nice person. What you see is what you get. He's real. He's not an act, because we go out with him a lot. So we see him off camera, and he's exactly what he's like on camera. I think he's had some bad luck getting fights and everything. He's pleasure to be around. He's good fun, but he can really box. He wants to plug on. In fact, I'll give a plug now. He's on our show next on July the 30th. Okay. He's headlining our show, streamed on BBTV. So yeah, I'm enjoying that, and the full family is very nice. They were very hospitable to us always, and they've become friends really.
No, that's brilliant, man. He is a legend, and like I said, we've had him a couple of times, and he's great to chat, and like you said, very charismatic as well, which is good to see, especially when you are doing interviews. I'm sure you want to see that. And so I suppose just to move on to my next question being, if you can maybe choose an event which you've been to as being possibly your favourite event, which one would you say?
So yeah, I think... Oh, that's a good question, because there's a few that stand out. I'll be honest, one of the ones that really stood out to me just from the atmosphere was ridiculous, was Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. Yeah. The atmosphere was ridiculous. It's such a bit... I mean, the fight was one-sided, but I'm talking about before that. Yeah. The build-up, the ring walk, the American Pie, just everything about it was electric. But there's been others. There's been a lot of good small... I mean, I don't want to get too geeky with you and to talk about some of the small hall shows from like 7 years ago and stuff, but some of the best fights I've ever seen have been on small hall shows. Or I remember one event where everybody had left, and after the main event, it was at Manchester Arena, and a guy called Jack Flatley fought a guy called Troy Williamson, and it was an 8-round banger. It was probably the best fight I've ever seen over 8 rounds, but nobody ever saw it. There was me and about 20 people that stayed. That stands out for me. I don't know why. Some of the good nights in Leeds for Josh Warrington, they stand out because the crowds absolutely can't, they just get into it so much. I'll be honest, Savannah Marshall, Clarissa Shields is one that stands out to me, because I was part of the team that night, so I had an inside view of it, and it was a great atmosphere. And I didn't think it would be like that, because I didn't think an all-women's card would sell out. Definitely. I was being sceptical, but it was brilliant. One of the best atmospheres I've seen. And yeah, Joshua Usyk, the first one at Tottenham. That was the first time where I saw a stadium completely packed. Yeah. That stands out. But mate, I could go on all day. But ringside at Dillian Whyte versus Chisora 1. Because that fight was just bonkers. Definitely. Hey, I could go on and on all day, mate. I could go on and on all day.
No, that's amazing, man. And I suppose with these kind of fights, you've named a few like actual arena fights or stadium fights. And how does maybe an arena one compare to a stadium one?
I think a stadium one, it's just a whole new level because you think, how can this many people? You're among people that are like you because everyone's a boxing fan. And you think, how many people are here? Like they've got the same views as you. Well, they might have the same views, but they love boxing. They've all come here. They've congregated. The atmosphere is great. They're all singing the songs. I think you realise that boxing is live and kicking when you see those stadium fights. It differs from an arena. An arena's great. Like Manchester Arena is my home arena. Mm-hmm. I've been there. It's been packed out a few times. Anthony Crolla used to pack it out. Yeah. I was there for Calm Brook. Mm-hmm. Oh, these atmospheres are unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. But a stadium, open air, you're looking around thinking, wow, laser shows, fire. It's just insane, mate. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
Yeah, no, they all seem it, man. Hopefully one day I'll be able to get to one myself. And
where are you based?
I'm based like Nottingham way.
Nottingham, mate. That's where I was born.
Is it?
Well, I was born in Sheffield, but I moved to Nottingham when I was 6, and I basically Nottingham. I lived between the age of 6 and 18 in Nottingham. I lived in Beeston, opposite a pub called the Nurseman Pub. Mm-hmm. Well, is that what you want to do then? You want to get to shows and you want to start covering shows, do you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done a few. I don't know if you know, like Carl Greaves, Scott Kalo. They've been to their shows. But
I know. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm emceeing Carl Greaves' show on Friday, on Saturday. Right. Yeah, in Grimsby. Yeah. I love Carl. I mean, I know most of Nottingham a lot, to be honest. But how come? So, what's stopping you going to shows at the minute then?
I suppose
the big ones
is at the moment, and then also getting like if I want to get to these big shows, I kind of have to go through somebody else and use a different channel to get there because at the moment it's not quite big enough mine yet. But that's learning then.
And have you asked anybody yet if they'd do that for you?
I've got one possibly lined up for the Dalton Smith, Sam Maxwell fight week, so hopefully I'll be able to be about for that one. But I mean, other than that, it's just like I said, travel at the moment, which can be a little bit tasking at times.
Yeah, what money wise?
Well, I'm not driving yet. I'm learning. I'm 17, so I'm not quite there yet. And then it's just like training and stuff. Like, because if you go to a fight night, it probably ends at like 12, something like that, and then there's no trains running at that point.
Right. Okay. Well, when you've passed your test, let us know. Mm-hmm. And if you want to come to any shows, you know. If no one else or anything like that, and you want to do it with us, BBTV, well, mate, do it. Why not? You're a good interviewer, and you clearly love boxing. So just let us know.
Legend, man. No, I really appreciate that, mate. That'd be amazing, bro.
Yeah, seriously. Any fight weeks, anything like that, just let us know, and we'll help you out a little bit with the travel and everything like that. But you know, let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
You've got me thinking now. You've got me. I've added you on Instagram there, so just let us know.
Alright, nice one, man. I mean, there looks like there's going to be a few big cards coming around me like it's coming up. Of course, there'll probably be Lee Wood fighting somewhere in Nottingham soon, so maybe that could be an option.
Well, hopefully the Josh Warrington fight happens, because that's just a massive fight, and the travelling Leeds army as well are going to make it, and obviously I know what the Nottingham crew are like, so that will be a massive night in Nottingham. That'll be one of the biggest nights in Nottingham since like Froch fought Bute. Yeah. I was at that fight, and that was great because everyone thought, well, not everyone, but a lot of people wrote Carl Froch off in that fight. They were saying Bute's too good. He's a southpaw. He's big. He hits too hard. But Carl that night smashed him to bits, didn't he? And it was a great night that in Nottingham.
No, that does kind of, to an extent, reminisce of even just a Lee Wood fight as of recent. Everybody kind of wrote off Lee Wood against Lara, the rematch. He came and he boxed amazingly and outclassed him. I mean, for me, I like Lee Wood, but I'm not a Nottingham Forest fan. So I'm a Notts County fan, so going to them is a little bit awkward when they're all doing Nottingham Forest chants, and then there's just me sat there and not quite joining in with that bit.
You know what? I was one of that thought Lara might do the same again. But Lee boxed great, and also Lara didn't turn up either. No. So when you gather them two together, it was I'm buzzing for Lee because he's such a nice, dedicated kid as well. And Lara clearly hadn't trained much for the rematch, and so it's only right that the guy who comes in and does the professional job has the world title. So fair play to Lee, and I hope we get that unification fight on.
Hopefully, indeed. And so just to move on, it kind of links on to my next. I've just got a couple boxing related topics, just popular ones at the moment, I suppose, and one of them just being the Fury and I suppose Anthony Joshua both having summer fights, one possibly being AJ White, and Fury, nobody really knows who's he's against yet. So we'll start with Fury. Do you think he will actually have a summer fight?
I think he will, and I think he will because knowing what I know about Tyson, I mean, I just did a sit down with his brother the other day, Shane Fury, done a sit down interview with him. Knowing what he needs to stay active. You know, he needs to stay active. He's getting older, and he needs to stay active. You can't go into massive fights without having tune-ups. It's just not how. It's not when you're at that elite level. It's very difficult to go into these massive fights without having a tune-up, or at least sharpening the tools. Having to go through a camp, especially with Tyson, he needs to keep himself active, his mind active, not just his body. For him, he needs to keep his mind active. So I do think he'll fight before, whenever they're talking about this hypothetical mega tournament, which may or may not happen. It's I do think he will fight in the interim.
Okay.
I think he has to.
Okay. No, I totally agree. Possible opponents, not too sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if you fought someone like the WWE, you know, with the way he is. You know, it could be anyone. There are a lack of top 10 opponents that are available for these dates. I've heard that Ruiz has outpriced himself.
Yeah.
Who else was there? He can't fight Chisora again. That would just be ridiculous. Dillian White's tied up now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Joyce just got beat.
Yeah.
Zhang's tied up with the rematch.
Yeah.
There's not too many opponents. I know we went over to look at that Australian opponent, but does anyone want to see that? I wouldn't. I mean, there was rumours of. There've been all sorts of things online. He was calling out Francis Ngannou the other day.
John Jones
from the MMA. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like that.
Okay.
I really wouldn't.
No, that would be interesting. I'd imagine it'd sell well, but I don't know how much the actual boxing hardcore fans would appreciate that.
Well, if you know, I've got so much respect for those guys in what they do in the MMA, the class. But in a boxing match, Tyson would he would play with them. He'd be like Mayweather playing with all these people there, and it would. I know these guys are on a seriously high level. They're good strikers in their own field, but Tyson will probably just outbox them easily.
Of course. And then now moving on to AJ White. Of course, there's possible talks of AJ fighting Wilder a little bit later on in the year, but AJ White, I feel like that is a very tough test for AJ.
I feel like it's a tough test for this version of AJ, yeah. This version of AJ who is looks a bit gun shy. You know, looks he wasn't the old AJ. I mean, the old AJ that knocked Dillian White out the first time round. With if you put that old AJ in with this version of Dillian White, he'd flatten him. Yeah. But the reality is they're both different now. They're older. They're jaded in the game. You don't know what's going to turn up on the night. You do not know what's going to turn up on the night. So, you know, it's interesting. And of course, as boxing fans, we'll watch it. But I'd rather see other fights. You know, I'd rather see the Fury fight or the Usyk. Not the Usyk, but I'd rather see the Fury fight. I mean, they're both at a loose end. They could have tried to make that fight, but if it is what it is, I mean, I wasn't too massively overjoyed when I heard Franklin has a name as an opponent, but I understood it. This one will probably sell, but again, it's a rematch, isn't it? I'd rather see something new, personally.
Of course. And so just to kind of one more topic and then one more question and I'll let you go, man. I know we're a little bit pressed for time here and I appreciate your time. And so just a little thought on everything that's going on with Conor Benn at the moment and the possible return up in the air of him. Yeah,
well, they did try and push through a few fights with him straight away, you know, sort of like try and brush it under the carpet sort of thing. But the thing nowadays is with boxing fans, they're so clever to the game. Yeah. They know everything that's going on. They follow everything. Boxing fans are very passionate fans, and they don't forget things, you know, and they're very astute. And they knew that it wasn't right to just press on and then just ignore everything that's happened.
Definitely.
Having said that, I don't know what the situation. You know, I don't follow all this drugs. I don't follow the tabloid stuff too much in boxing, yeah. But I do, as I understand, he's actually served the time of his ban, I believe. In which case, he's free to fight. You know, and. Do I want to see him fight Manny Pacquiao? Not really, no. I don't want to see him come back and fight someone. You know, if he goes into a fight where he's a heavy underdog against someone, and he goes into that, I think that's the way to go for him now, because he's got to get some redemption somewhere. But, you know, at the same time, he still needs... There are some unanswered questions, aren't there? And I don't know whatever happened to this the whole situation about he was going to prove that he was innocent. And I don't want to cast it. It could be the case. I never want to hit a man when they're, in my book, it's always innocent until proven guilty. In my book, being as a school teacher.
Yeah.
But he is an exciting guy, and I would like to see him come back and fight someone, but not an old man. I'd like to see him come and fight someone in their prime, and see how he gets on.
I totally agree, man, and like I say, I really appreciate your time here today, and I'll leave with this final question, which I always like to ask. You've got a little bit of a platform here. Would you like to shout anything out for yourself?
Oh, you know what? It's been nice chatting to you, because I've just rambled on, haven't I? And you've listened there to me rambling on. But no, it's been nice to chat to you. I hope maybe one or two people watch this, and if they do, they need to follow you, because it's very hard starting out in this game, doing what you're doing. The YouTube game, interviewing fighters. It's so hard. So if man like Alex from Axel72 asks you for an interview, if you got time, get on board and do it, because they need help. And eventually, when the rest of us retire, when like the Cougans retire and everyone like this, they need the new crop coming through, don't they? So you could be the next big thing. Who knows? So keep doing what you're doing, mate. And I hope people follow you and join you and get on board and give you some support.
I really appreciate that, mate. Of course, all the kind words. It means so much. And I'm sure I'll message you about possibly doing something with BBTV at some point. I would love to do that, mate. Listen,
Alex, stay in touch, mate. If we can help in any way, we always try and help people who need a bit of help. But also, you ask questions. You follow boxing, so we'll have a bit more of a chat. And if we can help on that side, of course we will.
Thank you very much, mate. Well, thank you very much for watching. Like the video if you do need like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.